Hi, welcome to McAfee Music. Today we're going to continue our discussion on snare drum technique by talking about the different stroke types. Now, there are four main types of single strokes that you can play on a drum: high to high, low to low, high to low, and low to high. I think it is most important to start with development of good high to high strokes. So for this, I want you to start with your wrist flat and then bend it back so that the stick points up. Go back to flat, up, and then just practice going back and forth between these motions. This is how your wrist moves, in a hinging fashion. For our high to high strokes, we want to start with the sticks in the up position. Now, every time you play a note, you want the stick to return to this position. Start by isolating one hand and just making sure that every time your stroke starts and stops here. As you repeat your high to high strokes at a faster speed, your fingers will naturally open up, which will allow the stick to breathe a little more and make your motions more efficient. We're going to apply these strokes to an exercise commonly known as 8 on a hand. There are many variations to this exercise, but we're going to use a variation that I like to practice. As you play through this, keep an eye on each aspect of your technique. I like to think of my technique coming from the center out. So first I focus on my posture, then my shoulders, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, and then eventually the beat of the stick. It should also be noted that the beats of the stick should be moving at the same speed down as they are moving up, creating what's known as a legato stroke. Think about dribbling a basketball. If I just take a basketball and I drop it to the ground, it's not going to come back up to my hand. However, I can add more force and make the basketball come up even higher than my hand. The ideal amount of force is the amount that brings the basketball back to the hand. Same with the stick, it's the amount of force that brings it back up to its starting position. Once you're happy with the way you sound and feel with these strokes, it's time to move on to the next stroke, the low to low stroke. For low to low strokes, everything from high to high strokes still applies. However, your fingers will not naturally open up as much. That's okay as long as the fingers are applying only contact, not pressure. It is also tricky with these strokes to keep the stick moving in a legato fashion. So watch the beat of the stick and try to make sure you can't see it too clearly at the bottom or the top of your stroke, instead that it appears fuzzy the entire time. If anything, you want to be able to see it more clearly at the top than at the bottom. Now we're going to play 8 on a hand at a piano dynamic to work on these strokes. Next, we'll work on our high to low strokes. High to low strokes are tricky to play with a relaxed technique. So I like to think of them as a high to high stroke without opening up my fingers, and then where the wrist doesn't turn back after the stick makes contact with the drum. So for this, imagine dropping an egg on 3 different surfaces: a concrete floor, a trampoline, and a beanbag chair. If your grip is too tight, you'll feel pain as your hand freezes the stick in place, and over time this will lead to your sticks breaking more quickly, much like the egg on the concrete floor. If your grip is too loose, the stick won't actually stop at the bottom and instead it'll rebound back up, like the egg on the trampoline. Now, if your grip is just right, the energy of the stick will be absorbed by the hand and it will neither rebound too high or hurt your hand. And in this analogy, your hand is the beanbag chair. To work on this, we're going to play a variation of 8 on a hand where we put an accent on beat 1 and we stop each measure on beat 3. Last but not least, we have our low to high strokes. Now, these are also a little bit tricky, but I like to think of them as a low to low stroke where my wrist quickly turns back up to prepare for the next stroke. This can be tricky at first to make smooth, but with enough practice you'll get used to it. For this one, we're going to use a similar variation of 8 on a hand, except the accent will be on beat 3 instead of beat 1. Finally, you're ready to combine your low to high and your high to high strokes. For this, we're going to go back to our original 8 on a hand exercise, almost the same as the piano variation, and we're just going to put one accent on beat 3. Now in music, sometimes you have a variety of stroke types back to back, so to work on this, we're going to play 4 accented notes followed by 4 unaccented notes. So in this case, we have 3 high to high strokes, or full strokes, followed by 1 high to low, or downstroke, then 3 low to low or tap strokes, and then 1 low to high or upstroke. So we have full, 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 down, tap, 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 up. Try to get as consistent of a sound as you can. Of course, once you develop this technique, you should try applying it to written music. I would recommend study number 38 from the Mitchell-Peters Elementary Snare Drum Studies. This one's great because it has a lot of common accent patterns, and it's also a little bit tricky with the combination of the different stroke types. That concludes part 2 of our snare drum technique series. If you like this video, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe, but also stay tuned for more videos. I'll be posting new videos regularly dealing with a wide variety of percussion topics. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.